I'm actually live for the third time today. So you guys are thinking, what are you doing? Are you insane? Are you crazy? A little bit. A little bit. I think here's the gist. I kind of refuse to be deterred. It was I got spanked here by Blender 2.81 earlier today. The first shot I went to work on, Blender just started acting erratic and went stupid on me. But you know what? I'm not giving up. I've done a lot of work in the last year fighting with tools that let you down from time to time, whether it's Krita or sometimes it's Tahoma. Tahoma less than the rest, certainly. Sometimes it's Blender. But, you know, bottom line is, what are you going to do, man? I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to quit. I'm not going to cry about it. Sometimes you got to go take a break, that's for sure. But, no, I decided, all right, I'm going to open up Blender 2.81 and just go ahead and actually start from scratch and see how it goes. So, there it is. That's what I'm going to do. And if that's insane, why, I guess I'm insane. I don't really care. Okay, so actually, let me check something here real quick. This is shot number 139. And we'll let that pop up on the preview. And if it doesn't pop up on the preview, then, well, there we go. Okay, so that's the shot. Then we got Asher. Okay. You know, it's tempting to take a look at this and say, it's tempting, but I'm not going to do that. I am going to stick with the plan here. So this is going to be 139. I'm going to actually resave this as a brand new. Just enjoy the process here. Well, let me think about this for a second. Should I bring in the head? I tell you what I'm going to do. I can't rename this here, so I'm going to go ahead and rename that Blender file, so I don't have to. I'm not going to save over it, but I'm just going to go ahead and resave 139. So we've got scenes. This is on my other screen. You guys can't see this, but 139. Earlier, we'll just call this earlier assets. Basically, Mel's head. But that's alright. I just wanted to protect that. And then this is going to be 139. We're just going to do a little pencil test animation here. Just to kind of regroup. Besides, I started doodling. And I really liked what I did here on Mel's attitude. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to start trudging ahead again. Never one to give up easily. Never one to give up easily. But yeah, I mean, I got spanked pretty good today, frankly. I really didn't expect Blender 2.81, which is what I'm still using here, to demonstrate the erratic behavior that it demonstrated. But like I said, what are you going to do? Sometimes your software goes silly. That's alright. So I'm looking at the other screen to just make sure I get the costuming situation right. And just, I'm using my hotkeys that I've programmed into Blender 2.81 so that I can move fast here. Because this is the part that's fun. We'll get a pencil test happening, and then hey, Mar, dude, you're doing a marathon. Well, I'm not really doing a marathon because I've been off a lot more than I've been on, but I'm just not giving up, man. I'm not gonna give up. I am not gonna give up. I refuse And so that's actually why I'm doing a pencil test, because it's like, okay, if your tools are kind of letting you down and you're getting a little annoyed with it, what do you do? Well, I'm going to say get back to basics, get back to the basics of doing a pencil test, making things move, having fun, get back in the groove, and then we'll deal with the occasional software stupidities later. Okay, so this is not a bad attitude here. I had what was the dialogue? I'm going to pull the script up. I don't know why unfortunately, OpenOffice is closed, so some villain must have snuck into my house in the dead of night and turned off my instance of OpenOffice. Okay, pay attention, blah, 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 blah. Bear with me, I just find the... Oh, here we go. Okay. He says, well, I know, Escher. I'm sorry. It's just, well, there was this girl. And then he has the reaction. So I got to be careful here because, okay, this is where he says that. I'm sorry. There was this girl. Okay, so that's funny. I'm actually drawing the wrong thing here. It's one of those days. Well, that's all right. What do? You go X, strokes, and you start over. That's what you do. Yes, that's what you do. Okay, so this is where we left off. So I'll leave that on the other screen so I can kind of reference it. And but I'm still going to draw. I'm still going to just have some fun drawing and get back in that groove for a bit. Okay, that's going to be a little too big. Tab key, A key, S key to shrink, G key to move, go, G for go. Okay, save occasionally. So yeah, it's all good. Five more thumbnail frames to do for your storyboard. Hey, Inio-san. Hey, man. Then back to the matte paintings. I should have those done today. Excellent, man. Keep rocking, brother. Keep rocking. That's what we're here for. We're here to keep rocking. I'm certainly exemplifying that today. I mean, I feel a little stupid because, some of the things I talked about this morning, just talking about the sort of the high level versus the low level approach. And it really is, the crazy thing about it is you really think about workflow, and as I often do, and I swear what it reminds me of is the old saying that software never survives its first contact with end users. It's like whatever you come up with, like, oh, okay, this is going to be what I'm going to do, this is my workflow, the very first thing. I mean, that's what happened with Blender today. The very first shot I did with 2.81 winds up causing Blender to be, blow up and act erratically. Well, this is what happened. What it underscores for me is the only thing probably really, the most valuable thing that probably came out of the session early this morning is that the high level stuff that we all gravitate to, like coming up with concepts and basically ideas we can get excited about. I mentioned, my point was that for the marketplace, that has no value, actually. It's very cool, and it's very necessary, but it has no value. The reality is, all of the stuff that's valuable, and literally the only thing that is valuable, is like what I'm doing right now. It's the in the trenches, on the ground grunt work. And I think maybe that's one of the reasons why I wanted to talk about it. We tend to gravitate, especially in corporate America, If you listen to the sort of jargon that's adopted by corporate America, we're so enamored of the high level. We're so enamored of the big idea. In my own personal philosophy, I may have talked about it in the live stream one time. I don't remember, but in my own personal philosophy, it's the concept of the visionary and the grunt. This is the thing. Okay, I really do want to say this. The visionary is the guy that has the high level idea. He's got the concept. And yet, the visionary is, and the idea is that you've got this person in you. Everybody has a visionary and a grunt inside of themselves. And the thing that's interesting about it is the visionary is all about ego. Like if the grunt goes out and does all the work and makes it happen, because everything that the visionary comes up with will never happen at all if the grunt doesn't do his part. And then what the visionary will do is take credit. And that's what we actually do in our ego all the time. I mean, that's like totally normal behavior. Why I think that's so interesting is the concept that I related this morning is that the high level stuff, the high level concept that's just basically a picture of what you're gonna do or accomplish is the part that's easy. The part that's hard is the part down here, and the reason that's so significant to me is that this is literally 99.4% of the energy actually goes here. This is like 0.6. In other words, like 3, is that right? 80-20. So you got 80-20, and then if you do another iteration of it, you've got 96-4. And then what's the next iteration of the 80-20 rule? What I'm saying is you can do 3 iterations of the 80-20 rule, and it's only a paltry, it's about a half of 1% that actually is up here and matters. Because none of this ever will happen at all, like zilch, nothing, if this person doesn't do all the work. Now in our case as creative individuals, we are both of these people. But I kid you not, I do find it very interesting to ponder how the ego kicks in, and I think the reason is really simple. The high level stuff entertains us, the low level, and that's what I find actually, I have to say, is interesting to me about what I do here on YouTube. The interesting thing about the Animation Truman channel is that you guys are seeing the 96.5% that is not glamorous. And you saw it today when I had the issues with Blender. It's downright ugly at times. And yet, it's where everything actually happens, I don't know if anybody else finds that as interesting as I do. But I think it's really interesting because of the mind games we play in ourselves. The bottom line is this. What happens? The grunt, okay, just we'll think of it, we'll play with it from this vantage point of the visionary and the grunt. Well, the visionary wants to, what does the visionary want? Okay, I'm working on this animation scene. What the visionary wants is for the scene to have been completed. That's what the visionary wants. He wants it to be done so that he can look at it and go, wow, look what I did. Isn't this cool? Wasn't this fun? And hey, by the way, all my friends on YouTube or Discord or whatever, look at what I did. Where we get into a problem is when you want all that stuff, but you don't actually want to do the work of the grunt, right? That's when it becomes problematic. Or if you expect it to be too easy, which is where we're at today. I can hear Zuko going bananas over there. So where I'm at today is recognizing that here we have a situation where absolutely nothing about this project matters diddly squat if I don't just, make some progress. Right? So when your tools are kind of working against you, then it's really tempting to get discouraged. When you get discouraged, you want to quit. And what happens is you said, Amar, you said, this is one of those deals where it's like the universe sort of testing you. I think you're correct. And then, of course, for me, I think about, well, what's the takeaway here? Well, what's the lesson? Is the lesson that you don't use Blender. It could be. There is a time for that. There's a time to say, you know what? I've made the mistake of going all in on a tool that has let me down to the point where it truly isn't worth it anymore. But that's usually not the case. Sometimes it is. But it's usually not the case. All right, so I just wanted Mel to look a little shell-shocked here. That's kind of what the idea is. And I don't really like the way his eyes look. Maybe it's because it's a little too sketchy. So I'm going to do another one of those sort of Peanuts things. Little Charlie Brown expression. And so my only goal tonight in this session is just to draw. Just have some fun. Maybe I'll make some progress on the shot. But, I've actually kicked out a lot of shots in the last couple days. So it's not like there's some big onus on me to get, to accomplish something today. This is all about getting back at the computer and just having fun. Get back to what's fun. So, well, the key to that, of course, is usually saving your work frequently. The reason the whole concept of the visionary and the grunt is something that occurred to me probably 6 months ago in my sort of daily journaling. And it really blew me away to consider how much you do have these two voices inside you. And it really is true that the visionary wants all the credit, the visionary wants the rewards, but the visionary really doesn't like doing the work. He really doesn't. He just wants the dividends, So it's like I said when I was, 4 or 5 sessions ago, I was saying all these things I'm saying about ego and dividends and all that stuff. That applies to me. I mean, this isn't just me cracking on everybody else out there. That's for sure. I think it's a common part of the human condition, and especially in a culture where there are umpteen quadzillion ways for us to get quick and easy, cheap dividends through social media or attaboys or whatever it is. Okay, I'm gonna look at this in the front. I think I'm gonna go ahead and flip it, just so I can get a fresh perspective. That's probably better. So if you're a creative person, you have to have both of these in you. You have to have the visionary and the grunt, unless you're on a team. If you have a team situation, then maybe you can just be the grunt. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, they're both necessary, but if you had to pick one or the other, okay, maybe I should take a YouTube poll here. If you had to pick, who's actually more important, the visionary or the grunt? I'll leave it to you guys to weigh in with your votes, but I have a pretty strong opinion about that one. I think you guys know what my opinion is. My ironic opinion, ironic because I am, as a person, very much a visionary. I think that the taking everything that I've both discussed and learned today into account, my thinking for you, Amar, is this. The reason, remember when I was talking about the hierarchy, I was talking about the high level and the low level, and I was referring to the whole code thing and how it's so easy to come up with a high level vision, but honestly, the basic rule is this, and this is an important point for you with what you're working on, I think. I said that this is easy. Any fool can come up with a high-level concept, right? But all the work is actually happening down here. So I think if there's a rule that one can apply to this, it would be this. Once you're clear about what your goal is, once you envision what you're trying to do, and you really have it clear in your mind, it's going to evolve. As you either get references or gain experience, the vision will evolve. But basically, you kind of know what you're after, right? Once you got clarity about what you're after, which for me is Salt and Light, okay, it's a 24-minute animated cartoon adventure show, right? Okay, so that's my goal. Once you get past clarity about what it is, you really want to jump way down here to the bottom. And the reason for that is what I said this morning. I said this, unlike this is quantifiable. This really isn't quantifiable because, you know, it's like I talked about Don Bluth. You know, Don Bluth's going to do a Dragon Lair thing. Well, okay, well, how much does it cost to do Dragon Lair? And I said, well, I can make a movie for $8,000, and he can't seem to make a 5-minute teaser for $750,000. What the hell's wrong with this picture? Well, my point is, this is not only is this not quantifiable, but think about this. Actually, now you got me going here. Think about this idea. If you focus totally on the vision and you present it well, you really capitalize on people's enthusiasm, because this is, again, what's easy. This is what gets people excited. This is the sizzle. This down here is the steak. This is the sizzle. And so what happens is you sell your crowdfund or whatever based on the sizzle, which you should. That's true, right? But ultimately, how do you quantify this? You cannot quantify it. So what is Don Bluth, or, you know, there's other people like Steve On, and there's other people who've done crowdfunds that have made a lot of money in the animation space who really haven't delivered much. Okay, this has happened more than once out there. The question is, how do you quantify this? If you go out and do a little research online, well, how much does it cost to create anime, right? And you're going to find out that, you know, it costs at least $1.5 million, right, to create a 24-minute episode, or some stupid number that somebody just literally drew out of a hat. $1.5 million. They just make the number up, okay? Now, it may be true that if you look at certain workflows with certain companies in certain countries, okay, maybe this is a legitimate number. I don't know. But the point is, when all you do is look at the sizzle, it is enormously difficult to quantify that. This is easy to quantify. You know how long it takes you to draw one background painting. And that's the point I'm getting at is vis-a-vis your project is this. If you're clear on what your goal is, then what you need to do is remember that which of these things you do, whether you start animating a scene or whether you do some background paint, it doesn't matter. Why? Because it's all got to be done. It literally all has to be done. Now, there's some aspects of it where this is intertwined with that and depends on that. So in other words, you can't do this one until this one's done. I get that. But generally speaking, the grunt work is what you can quantify. The grunt work is what you can really get down and dirty, and you can say with some specificity exactly how long it's going to take. Within a range. Obviously, there's a range. Okay. But you can quantify it. And the visionary loves the fact that you can't quantify the vision. Oh, no. Because then the visionary can have the wonderful ego of going out and saying, oh, this is $1 million idea. The visionary is patently full of shit and always has been. That's what you got to understand. The visionary is an idiot. Because the visionary isn't a brilliant visionary. It's that the visionary loves to feel like he's a brilliant visionary. And all it takes is somebody giving him a pat on the back for him to be convinced that he is a visionary. But when does the visionary find out what he's really made of, what he's really got? When does a visionary discover that? I think we know the answer to that question. When he takes the product to market. And now he's not dealing with kudos. And now he's not dealing with attaboys. And now he's not dealing with people that he has surrounded himself with who are less talented than him, because those people are easy to impress. That's what ego does for you. It encourages you not to get out there and really challenge yourself with, against people that are better than you, this sort of thing. So once you go to market, you find out in a hurry whether you were talking trash or whether it was real. I'll certainly experience that, and I can say that from experience. I mean, I've produced entire feature films that absolutely bombed. Absolutely bombed. One in particular, after I had my greatest filmmaking success, the distributor stepped up and was willing to give me a fairly substantial advance not substantial in Hollywood terms, but for me at the time, as kind of a nobody filmmaker, it was a pretty big dollar amount. Especially considering I knew I could make the movie for $8,000, because every movie I've made has cost me almost exactly $8,000. And that movie, oh man, I shouldn't say I made every mistake. There are things about it that were good. There are things, there was comedy in the movie, and there was some, the cinematography was pretty good. You guys can watch it, actually. I'm pretty sure. If you want to see my crap movie, my biggest failure as far as I'm concerned, go to the Encourage TV YouTube channel, okay? And if you want to see my better movies, you guys know, you can watch Healed by Grace 1 and 2. Those are the good ones, okay? And there's plenty of things you can criticize about those movies, but those are basically successful films, 1 and 2. But the bad one is this. It's called Disconnect. It's so bad. Disconnect, Reconnect. Now, if you want to see my crap movie, go watch that. The good news about that movie is that I know what the numbers are in terms of how that movie did when it was released, and it was released on DVD because DVDs were still a thing when that movie was released. And the good news is that actually, once the distributor had moved 8,000 units of DVDs, they got all their money back. So they actually didn't lose any money on it. But because of the way the royalty system is structured, it will take at least another 15 years for my advance to be recouped. So in other words, I won't start making any royalties off that movie for until it's been out for 20 years. Because they have to recoup the advance they gave me against profits, against royalties. As I say, fortunately for the distributor, it was still a win, and we still have a great relationship, and they're making good money on Healed by Grace too. They're doing fine on that movie. As am I. Not, again, not anything great by Hollywood standards, but if you wanna get maybe $800 or $900 a month as a windfall, then a chick flick horse movie can deliver that these days. It seems to be doing that pretty consistently, and so that's nice. It'll help pay for my new furnace. Not enough to make a living, that's for sure, but anyway, so I'm having fun drawing Mel here. Sorry about that last time. Hey, I appreciate that. No, it's all good, Sip. You talking about the session earlier today, or did you weigh in earlier today? In this session. Not all visionaries can afford to hire grunts. Absolutely. You know what, Max? I'm going to take a moment and look at your comments. It can also be said the opposite. If you're an artist, you can pay somebody to create the vision. You can, but my opinions are kind of strong about that only because having been on both sides of that equation, and in many circumstances having been both the visionary and the grunt, it's what I said earlier today about coming up with a concept or batting out, like plotting a movie. Let's say you sit down and you want to come up with a plot for a movie. It's my experience that any two people, certainly if one of the two has reasonable experience writing screenplays, so they know what, some of the sort of the mores of writing screenplays and pacing of a story. There's obviously a lot of craft to writing a screenplay. But as far as pounding out a compelling concept for a show, which is kind of the most high-level visionary thing you can do, it's like stupidly easy. Anybody can do it in an hour, Sorry about that. I had to throw off my hoodie. So, all an artist can afford to pay someone to create IP for them. Well, this is, and not all visionaries can afford to hire grunts. A lot of artists are not great at creating IP. Well, this is where I agree with you, and But this is okay. So this would be my argument about that, Amar. Let me just throw this argument out there. As artists, think about how often you might second guess something you'll do, and the argument you will tell yourself is that it's not original, and so you'll decry your own work because it's too much like this or that thing that you've ever seen. That's a normal thing to do. People that are creative do that all the time. Okay, so let's just say that's a thing. Okay. Well, and then a show comes out the following year, or whatever, that is just 5% different than something we've all seen before 100 times, right? I mean, One Punch Man's a great example. I mean, One Punch Man is just take a standard superhero thing and just turn it on its head because the guy is kind of nonchalant about being a hero, and he's more concerned about whether he's gonna get the discount at the supermarket that day than he is about saving the world from evil. Okay, so, well, that's funny. That's a really funny concept. And if you look at the actual pacing of the show, honestly, other than the money shots that happen here and there, really heavy action animated shots, other than that, for the most part, that concept that I just described of turning the superhero genre on its head, for me, pretty much carries the day. I mean, it's really where all the entertainment value in the show comes from. The action scenes are nothing exceptional. There's nothing exceptional about them. You've seen them in a million animes. Action scenes that are just as good. Look at famous IPs such as Dragon Ball, Hunter x Hunter, which I've been watching. I'm on like episode 26 of Hunter x Hunter. They all started with one grunt artist. I believe you, man. And that's my message. If I have a message here, it's that my message for you guys is, don't you believe any of the lies. The reality is every single one of you guys is more than capable of coming up with the next Hunter x Hunter or the next One Punch Man. It isn't even hard. Okay? You can do it. And you will make mistakes, and you will need to refine your craft, and you will have to hopefully you're always learning, but you can do it. The reality is, kind of to my point, is that, well, so what? So what? What good does that do you? If you don't have money to pay artists, then what good did it do you to come up with the greatest concept in the world? And so what you do, what I'm saying about the grunt is, the visionary can turn into a grunt, actually, when he puts on his salesman hat. Because he says, well, okay, I can't do the grunt work, so what am I going to do? I'm going to put on my salesman hat, and now I need to go sell the sizzle and get investors and get somehow, by pluck or by luck, I need to get the budget so that I can do this thing. Now, for me, as an animator guy, I'm going, well, that's kind of stupid. I mean, it would accelerate the process if I was either spending, literally all day, every day working on this, or if I, hired people. But basically, the idea that it takes a massive budget is just stupid. It doesn't. It takes time, but it doesn't take tons of money. Look at the original OPM comic. It shows you don't have to be an amazing artist to create something. I agree. I've said the same thing about. By the way, I'm gonna just modify this right now. I've said the same thing about shows like Family Guy. I mean, what are we gonna? We're gonna argue that the character designs on that show are, what make it great? I don't think so. I mean, nobody's gonna make that claim. It's the writing. It's totally the writing that makes that show work. And so, it's really there's a tug of war that we have as creatives here. In that, you do have to have a basic skill set. South Park is you're right, Max, absolutely. South Park is probably the best example. Very, very, very simple, and yet, A lot of people found it funny. Okay, I want to look at the timing of this. I'm going to reverse these and see what that feels like. I like that better. So I'm going to start out with this. And over here I need to look at this. Yeah, he had kind of this quizzical look. I'm gonna actually stay focused on that and see if I can kind of match that a little better. This is close, but it's not quite what I was looking for in terms of an expression. Yeah. So in the old version of this shot, he had his head turned the wrong way anyway. So this is probably just as well. Big person, you personally have the writing. Then I get people who tell me that it'll work out because I can make things look cool. Well, Sifter, you know, here's the thing. Whoops, that's not what I intended to do. Okay, so from what I can see in your work, obviously from the standpoint of drawing and, as you say, making things look cool, you're as talented as anybody that's ever come to my channel. You may not be as skilled as some in certain areas. From what I've seen of your animation, definitely your animation still needs some work to get flow that feels good, right? It's okay. It's actually okay. It's kind of, you know, it's acceptable. But, you know, I can tell that's something you got to work on. Your drawing is, as I say, it's as good as anybody that's ever come to this channel should look at Sifter's drawing, because this guy knows how to draw. He's got it. He knows how to make magic with his stylus. The writing side of it, I mean, I'm actually ambivalent. I mean, you sort of have this, what looks to me like kind of a dystopian vibe, and there's nothing wrong with that. You know, it works. You know, when you're really, based on what you're doing, I will say this: when you're ready to get serious about the screenplay or the dialogue or the character, let's just say when you're ready to get serious about the screenplay, if you want a second opinion, I would be happy to take a look at it and give you my thoughts on it. You know, but I think the raw material for to do something really great is there. I see it, you know, and I know it when I see it. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of craft that you still have to develop, and it's, you know, blah blah blah, but I can tell usually pretty quickly if the magic is basically there or not. And of course I could be wrong, you know. I reserve the right to be wrong. But I think the magic is there. That's my opinion. Okay, now what we need to do is get a little crazy. However, if we're going to get a little crazy, let's get the timing here kind of thing. So let's really break this down. Let's play Grunt, right? We're going to do the Grunt thing. So first of all, let's make sure we're all on the same page in terms of this. So when this was done, you know, it was pretty well established in the prior shot that his hand was up like this. Okay, so he's sort of in a frozen lock position. So we don't need to necessarily delineate all the details here, but my biggest issue for me is the aesthetic, and if it doesn't look the way I envisioned it to, it's probably too ambiguous based on the time or quality of what I want to produce. What do you mean by the aesthetic? if you could clarify that. Okay, so Mel has his little wrist thingy dingies, and since we can always go into edit mode and move this around. In fact, let's do that. Let's hit tab, and then grab this and just kind of, actually let's be on the median point, and then we can just kind of move this around, and I think it's slightly large. Just move it around till it feels right. D key, so I'm drawing again. And he's kind of got somewhat skinny arms. How it all comes together on the packaging. Oh, that's what you mean by the aesthetic. Okay, okay, so I'm glad I asked that because I was not understanding what you meant by that. Well, I mean, I guess my thought is you just have to decide. It's kind of an important thing. It's like setting up a crowd fund or anything that's basically presentation is a little bit stressful because you don't want to get it wrong, you know. Okay, so here I'm going to actually hit tab and control, grab this, control C, go to the next keyframe, control V, and now I'm going to click down here so I can kind of rotate on the 3D cursor like so. Back into draw mode. Let's hit rewind and see what we have. Okay, so now it's a timing thing. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, it's right about here. Alright, I'm going to turn this off, the big screen preview, but okay, frankly, the way I did this before was pretty darn good. Actually, I will put on the preview. The main problem with this shot is that when all the action is over, the characterization of Mel is wrong. This could probably be fixed by bringing it into Blender, mapping it to a plane, and actually deforming it right about here with shape keys. You could fix this shot. So it's really kind of a semi-pointless exercise here that I'm working on tonight. But basically, in terms of acting, the moments, the individual moments aren't bad. So we've got this, the shoulders shrug up, right? Let me see if this is actually one frame at a time. Yeah, it is. So that's 3 frames. But you know what? This might be 24 frames per second too. No. Okay, AMAR. Great backgrounds, art, character design, animation. You probably want too much based on what you can actually do right now. Well, yeah, but that's a dangerous way to think. I mean, we all have to limit what we're going to attempt based on, you know, you want to stretch yourself, but at the same time, just be happy with an aesthetic that's consistent with what you're capable of. And if you need some encouragement in that, look for other properties that are closer to the level you're at and have been successful. You know, just so you can at least remind yourself that people can create stuff. You know, getting back to Family Guy, you know, talking about the animation and the characters, not the writing, okay? Because it is pretty good writing. And South Park, you know, there's stuff at all levels of aesthetic that have found a place in the market, you know. So what does he do here? He would go, I'm going to say, I'm actually going to go rotate this down. I'm gonna maybe let it be on the screen for one more frame, and now I'm going to try to kind of swing him around a little bit. This might be dangerous. I'll probably have to redraw it, but we'll try. Usually the thing I find with sculpting is if you can put down the sculpting, you put down your stylus or your mouse, and then just move it, and it actually looks like the character is moving in a natural way or acting or whatever, then you're usually going to get a pretty good result. So, for what that's worth, hit the draw key. And I think what I'll do here is do one of these. I would have been more fun doing that, especially if I had the money and the built-in audience. Wait, in all honesty, as you stated before, you'd rather be the visionary, creating the IP story and designing everything else, than let the team do the grunt work while I supervise them. Well, let me tell you what's both right and what's wrong with that thinking. That thinking is right in the sense that my answer to that is, okay, then do that. Do that. I mean, you've got the whole internet at your fingertips. What's stopping you from going out and finding a team? Okay, well, that's the good news. You could do that, actually. There's nothing stopping you. Nothing at all. And if you tell yourself there's anything stopping you, you're lying to yourself. It's not true. You could do that. You could go build up a team. And you could find people who would do it for free. It'd be hard to find people with the skill level in different areas. But yeah, whoop-de-doo, it would be a challenge. You know, go try starting any business. It's going to take you between 2 months and 2 years to get to the place where you basically don't have to worry about whether you're going to go bankrupt. That's perfectly normal. It's not a bad thing. Okay, so the bad thing about it is, if you do what I just said, what's going to happen is everything that's wrong with your vision is going to be, not just with your vision, actually, everything that's wrong with your vision and your aesthetic, your presentation, your pitch, right? Everything that's weak about your presentation and your concept itself will become very, very, very obvious to you very, very quickly when you go try to sell it to people on the basis of either working with you or working for you or giving you money. You don't need money for any of that. You don't need any money to find out. The thing is, this is where I'm getting to the bad news side of it, is most people don't want to do that. They don't want to try that. Why not? Because who wants to go out and find... Okay, so in other words, look, we're talking about the high level and the low level again. Okay, so here's the problem with what you're saying for me. You're saying, well, you know, I'm pretty good at this and I'm pretty good at this, but I kind of lack ability maybe in these couple areas here. But my lofty concept might be shooting for a level that's maybe here. And so I might be aiming a little higher than I should, okay? Well, the problem with that thinking is, number one, by just throwing that out there, you're kind of dancing around with giving yourself an excuse to fail, actually. I don't know if you see that, but I'm pretty sure you probably do. But more importantly, if you did what you said in your comment and you go out and you go try to find the money people, you go try to pitch and sell the idea, what might happen is when you're lacking ability in these areas and you acknowledge that and you're aware of it, which is kind of a bummer, but at least you can keep working on it. And I'm not saying this is necessarily you, Amar, but this is a very easy trap to fall into. So then what you tell yourself is, well, I have this great concept, and if I had the money, then I could get it done. Well, that's probably this. That's probably this. That's just a story you tell yourself. And so the reason you don't go out and pitch it to the money people or find the volunteers to get excited about your project where they're so excited about it that they're willing to work on it. You're not going to do that. Why are you not going to do that? Because if you did that, you might find out the awful truth that you're actually not very good at this either. You actually have a lot to learn in that area. And so rather than find out that scary truth, it's easier to just tell yourself that, you know, you've got great concepts. You know, I've got 100 concepts. You know, maybe I'm aiming a little higher than I should. No. That's all baloney. The only thing that matters, we know that South Park can succeed, so therefore the only thing that matters is this. This is, what are you doing? What are you doing today? What'd you do? What'd you do today? You know, and lately you're making good progress. I mean, you in particular, Amar, have been, you know, it looks like making pretty good progress. So I'm not at all criticizing the work you've been doing. But I bring all this up because I have certainly been subject to it myself, and these are the kinds of games we play. These are the sort of games we play with ourselves, right? In order to circumvent life's inevitable disappointments. The most disappointing thing for the human experience is to find out the truth. The healthiest, happiest thing in the human experience is to learn to tell the truth. Ponder what I just said. If you want to be a healthy, happy person, you tell the truth. So I'm in a relationship, and there's things about my partner that drive me crazy, but I'm passive-aggressive, so I don't tell my partner about the things that drive me nuts. Because I'm afraid, I'm scared. If I told my partner the truth, they might leave me. Okay, this is common. This is psychology 101. And so you go for years, decades, or even an entire lifetime never really telling the truth about what you want, about what you care about what you love. This is what people do. It's totally normal because it's scary. The person who's liberated in their life is the person who has learned that the only way you ever become a person who does this, takes responsibility, I guess, do I need an apostrophe? Takes responsibility. What does it mean to take responsibility? It means that you tell the truth and you are willing to accept the risk. You're fully willing to accept the risk of telling the truth. It's the first step in becoming a happy, creative person. Because if you tell the truth, you're not giving in to shame. You're not giving in to false humility. You're not giving in to ego. You're saying, no, I'm going to tell the truth. This is what I like. This is what I care about. I don't care if somebody else thinks it's cheeseball or stupid or what. I don't care. Because those people don't matter to me. And guess what? Dirty little secret, by the way, I don't mean anything to them either. I mean, come on, it's true of me. You know, a little while ago, I disappeared off YouTube from live streaming for 2 solid months. No, you guys came back when I came back on, but, I mean, the truth of the matter is, if I had never come back, nobody would care. Nobody would miss me. It's you know, once in a blue moon, somebody's going, hey, I wonder whatever happened to that BlendedPlanet guy. That might happen. But basically, nobody gives a rep. And that's not a bad thing. They've got their own life to lead. You know, you're supposed to be leading your life. So if you care about what they think, then it's like, why are you trying to lead their life? Excuse me, you should probably focus on your own, kind of thing. Does this make sense, people? The odyssey of my life, psycho-emotionally, for the last roughly 2 years, has been actually unpacking this stuff and seeing where literally for years in my life I allowed myself to modulate and squelch what I cared about and what was important to me and what I loved, you know, creatively and aesthetically, you know. I squelched it in order to make people happy. In particular, I would say for a long time, my ex, you know, who at the end of the day, you find out those people don't even care about you. You're as unimportant as, you know, a little dent in their fender. You know, I don't know that that's necessarily a bad thing, actually. Because at least at the point, you know, 8 years ago for me, when my marriage fell apart, at least she was finally starting to tell the truth. You know? She was finally at least telling the truth about what she wanted. And I have to respect that, you know? So I don't really hold any malice, you know, against my ex. I think there's things about her character or personality or whatever that I think are kind of doofy or whatever, where I sometimes wonder about some of the choices she makes or whatever. But that's just opinion. I mean, it's her life, so she can do what she wants, right? But I bring this up because this parallel between relationships and creativity and animation versus code, these things all are the same way. You know, I see incredible parallels between all these different dimensions of life. And you know, it affects my sense of, you know, it's affected my vision of religion, of politics, all that kind of stuff that people love to fight about. It's really boggled my mind to realize the degree to which we are so self-deceived. The stories we tell ourselves in order to forestall whatever it is that we're afraid of. Sometimes, in the example I gave a little earlier, Amar, about you as a visionary as opposed to you as the grunt, sometimes one of the things we're afraid of, terrified of really, is finding out that we suck. But the thing is, what you really should want to do is find out that you suck as fast as possible. It's best to find out as fast as possible that you suck, because then you can do something about it. And you're not going to continue to spend your life, telling yourself these stories. Right? And when you, and why, so let's bring this home. Here's the point. When you stop telling yourself the stories and then you say, well, you know what? I suck. Okay, so what am I going to do about that? Well, maybe I'm going to actually join AMB Animation's channel, and I'm actually going to take the course from this guy that maybe I don't even like very much, right? Because we've kind of been picking on AMB the last couple days. You know, but you know what? You might learn something from the guy. So you say, I'm going to do whatever it takes to get my act together. And then what you're going to find is you're going to quit having contempt. Yes, Max, exactly. Fail fast, fail often. You'll stop feeling contempt towards people who are better than you. You're going to stop being tweaked by those people because it isn't really about your ego anymore. In fact, you learn to actually respect those who are better than you, and you don't begrudge them the fact that they're successful, right? If you have an ego problem, one of the key signs is that you're a little bit resentful of people who you think are less talented than you, but are actually more successful. You do not like those people. Believe me, I get it. That's just ego. The truth is, they are better than you. They're better. You just don't want to admit it. Because your whole worldview, your whole story of yourself, the story you've been telling yourself about yourself would be shattered. Right? Get married, divorced often. Nice. So you should animate your concepts yourself first and grow an audience. Well, the thing is, what Max is alluding to is the fact that I think that the market is actually pretty smart, actually. Okay? I think the marketplace is actually pretty smart. If you're not personally currently successful, it's probably because you suck. You may not suck in every way. You may just suck in a couple ways that are kind of wrecking it, right? But basically, the truth of the matter is, if you were really good, you'd probably be popular. You know? I don't think, so that's why I kind of crack on my own YouTube content. I don't think my YouTube content is quote-unquote good. It's not good at all. This is lame content. How do I know that? Because nobody wants to watch it. Is it useful to a very tiny niche? Yes, it is. So it doesn't totally suck. But it does depend on what your goal is. You know, obviously I'm more interested in just doing the work and talking about the process. Okay, so now there's an interesting thing here about, with Blender. I actually think this would be a very interesting place to try the noise modifier. What is the factor? So this is a shot that, let's just see what this. Oh wait, it's not animating. Why is it not animating? Position, strength. No, I don't want to do strength or thickness. I just want to do position. Material, layer. I wanted to do all layers. I think they made this a little more straightforward to use in. So like there it just animated, so it's not animating often enough. It's not changing often enough. Okay, got it. So the factor needs to be, wait, this goes up to 30? I'm going to crank it up and see what happens. What am I doing wrong here? Step 1. Oh, it's 1. This is frames. Duh. Yeah, okay, I'm an idiot. I should have just moused over it. It's a great example. Here I'm trying to like figure it out by trial and error, and all I had to do was mouse over it and get the hint. Okay, it's number of frames. But this is a great example of a shot that when I ink this, it would probably be really good to add the noise modifier. This would be a really good shot to use that on. So if you guys didn't know that, that's something you can do in Blender here, you know, is use the noise modifier to get that look. You know, we've all seen it in anime or whatever, but it's really a cool effect. Very useful for some things. So, all right, cool. So I haven't accomplished a lot here in terms of the animation work, but I think what I'm going to do is take a break, and then I'm gonna try to at least pencil test sort of this frenetic reaction that he's gonna have. So I'm gonna be back in a couple minutes. In the meantime, I'll just let this spin around a few times. Oh, break time's over. Break time's over. I may take another break here shortly, though, actually, and go get myself my evening martini, because I haven't had a martini yet today. And I like having my evening martini. Okay, so the noise modifier will definitely be a cool addition, but frankly, I don't really want to see it, so I'm going to leave it turned off while I'm working. So I'm going to take a moment and look at the, you know what's weird? What's weird is when I take a break and I just let my animation loop, we wind up getting like several more people showing up, and then I sit down and start talking, and everybody leaves. Okay, so Denzel divorce modifier, it's very useful. And by the way, you who have this this name, can you put in the chat, how do you say that? What do we call you? You're new here, and I want to welcome you. But I don't know how to say, what is that? It's not, this is infinity. I don't know what that is. It's like is that omega? No, that's not omega. Omega, isn't omega, I don't remember what it is, but it's not omega. So what is that? Seen it a lot. Yep, played with the core in Tahoma, or the curve in Tahoma this evening. Had some fun changing the color, blah, 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 blah. Very good. Dante on YouTube has a video where he goes over all the modifiers. Yes, I've seen that. Yep, it's good. He has well, I don't know if it's Dante. It might be somebody else, but it's a video where he says, it's like, here's all 30 or 40 or 50 grease pencil modifiers. It's quite useful. Not equals 0. So, yeah. So is not equals 0? I wouldn't be not equals 0. This would be not equal to 0, at least if you're talking C code or JavaScript or any C-like language. So that's what that would be. Okay, so what are we going to do here? Well, let's stretch this out to, I don't know, probably 60 frames or so. We're just trying to get the attitude here. Okay, so just for kicks and giggles, because I feel like doing it, I'm going to grab this and, hit the G, hit the A. Okay, really, dude? Back down here. Edit mode, A key, G key. I just want to see what this looks like. This is kind of an extension of the same kind of idea you get with the noise modifier. So I'm just hitting Shift D to duplicate the keyframes. And I definitely want these to be close together, like 1 frame apart. Okay, and that's not enough, and I don't know that it's fast enough. It's probably not fast enough. I don't know if I can get it fast enough at 8 frames per second. This is one of those cases where jumping the shot to 12 frames per second might be warranted. Okay, the basic idea, it doesn't really work. I would say it's not quite working, but the idea is the right idea, so I think I'm going to leave it in there just because it's like, okay, we'll just kind of keep that idea on tap. I'm hitting the B key so I can box select the keyframes. And then he needs to immediately fly into whatever he's going to do next. So what I'm going to do is hit the D key and boop, actually get rid of him. Okay, and probably this would be a good time to turn on onion skins. So, call me an idiot, but I can't remember. Is this the onion skin? No, that's for masks. I do not remember. I know that you can activate them here, but believe it or not, I don't actually remember how to turn on onion skins in Blender 2.8. Oh, that's pretty embarrassing. That's pretty bad. Onion skinning. So here's the onion skinning settings. Oh, there we go. There we go. That's the onion skins, isn't it? I think it is. So the onion skins are probably... Okay, there we go. It came on. So I see. I see. When I'm scrolling, they disappear. All right, got it. Okay, so I should be able to go here and see what I had. Okay, so now one question on the onion skins would probably be, I would say the opacity, we want to keep it pretty low. Yeah, that'll work. That'll work. Okay. Thank you. Half diminished. Well, half diminished isn't actually weighing in with the answer. Null? That's the null. I guess that is null. Maria's right. That's right. It's the null. Yes, the empty set. Right. The null character, obviously, in C-like languages means it's what marks the end of a string in traditional C. So, okay. So D key, I'm going to look at my progression up here. Okay, and in the old version, he kind of went like, I guess what I could do, I think I'm going to change my mind here about how to go about this. I'm going to delete that keyframe, and instead what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and just do a little bit of a sculpt. Let me see how big I can make this. Okay. So in the old version, he went like this. D key, let's erase these, and there was 1 or 2 frames of basically, and I need to get rid of these eyebrows too. So this all is going to go by pretty quick. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. We'll just do our best. Probably those eyes are a little too low on the head. So I'm going to shrink this baby back down a bit and push this up. So this is one of those things that you don't really know how it's going to work until you're a ways into it. I use the null symbol as part of my very weird version of note-taking shorthand. Yeah, I have things like that too. Such as in note-taking, I'll routinely use this for therefore, and if I'm typing, I'll just do a column, a colon, and a period for therefore. Things like that. A little shorthand. Let's see. This, I think what I want to do is grab this, put this here, so we're going to be 1, 2 frames apart. Let's go to this frame. Okay. Now what we want to do here is go into edit mode, select all. I mean, I should say select none. Actually, let me rethink that. Let me do this. Do we have proportional editing turned on? No, we don't. So I'm going to go here. Yeah, that's okay. Deselect, draw mode, and then probably the eyes shouldn't be so big. So again, it's kind of a peanuts looking thing. And then once again, we'll get rid of this. One thing I do like with Blender is you notice that the eraser, when you zoom way in, the eraser does not scale, which I like that because that means I can zoom in and get more detail with the eraser without having to constantly resize it. Okay, so the actual eyebrow, concept here. And let's go here and flip this. Is kind of like this, kind of the sad eye thing. And we may wind up with too many little changes in expression to where it's, you know, too much of a good thing, blah blah blah. Okay, what does he do in the original? Like I said, I like the acting. I like what I did from an acting standpoint. Okay. Alright, so what's wrong here? Let's go back to this view. Is he's got a turn. So that's not bad. That's not bad. Actually, I put the eyes too high on his head. And by the way, I'm going to turn the onion skins back on. Okay. So yeah, what's wrong here is, at least for me, is I want to go ahead and change this. And probably I should actually turn the skins back on so I can see what I had before. Okay, yeah. So all right, now we're gonna let's make a duplicate, and then I just want to get him turned around here. So I'll deal with his collar in a minute. So just got to get him turned around so he's looking kind of sheepish. So then we'll deal with the collar. Straighten his neck out a little bit. Straighten his neck out. Okay, so the arc of the collar is not going to change. The level, I should say, probably be a better way to put it. Okay, we'll put that there. That there. Okay, so now this is going to kind of loop around like that. Loop around like that. Boom, boom. Okay, so he's got a little wrinkle there. Okay, that's actually not too bad. The only thing I'm not loving here, well, I'm not loving any of it, but okay, A key, Alt A. It's one thing I do wish Blender 2.8 did the same as 7.9, which is you just use the A key to select all, and then you use the A key again to deselect all. So yeah, this can't really be sized. So the only thing you could do is change the frame rate, frankly. Okay, not bad, actually. Therefore 2, yep. Yep, the 3 dots. Well, another one would be a triangle for change, you know, change in X, change in Y, kind of thing. The triangle. Okay, so this whole section only works if the frame rate is cranked up to 12, I think. It just doesn't really cut the mustard for me, but that's okay. We're learning as we go, aren't we? Okay, so now I'm gonna go ahead and just play around kind of with the acting here of what I think I want to do. I'm gonna go anchor in his neck. Okay, that's not bad. So let's go to this between these two frames and actually go into draw mode, D key, and interpolate those just so we see what this feels like. We'll go ahead and turn the skins back off now. Yes, see, there we go. Now he's starting to come to life a little bit. The other thing here is I don't like the way I did his eyes. They're too much like really bold circles, but that's okay. That should be pretty easy to fix. Delta for change, right? Yeah, exactly. I forgot it was delta. I bet we could read each other's notes. I'm sure. I'm sure. That's probably true. Okay. So, save my work. Okay. So we'll take it from here. I'm not going to do skins at the moment. I'm just going to... Okay, this one sucks. There we go. There we go. Control. That's okay. Okay, and I would say if he's going to have that progression there, we probably want to have the shoulders falling a bit. Like, okay, that doesn't look right at all, does it? Because of the way I did it. And what I really want to do is, let me just get this contour. Let me just establish this contour. Contour, contour, contour. So it's angling down. So this is throwing me. This is a good example of where if it's throwing you, just erase it because it's too much of a distraction. Okay, so here we've got that, followed by that, followed by that. Okay, curve there, sleeve situation, sleeve situation. Let's put a little lumpy right there as a guide. Okay, bigger lumpy. This might not make sense at the moment, but it'll probably make sense in a minute. Okay, so now I'm saying there's actually this little wrinkle pattern. Okay, then I'm gonna actually erase the guidelines. That's one of those little tricks that I, to tell you the truth, didn't know if it was gonna work. Yeah, not bad. So the furnace guys are supposed to be here at like 8 o'clock in the morning, 8 or 9. Hopefully that'll go relatively smoothly. Frankly, I think they're going to find out that replacing, or yeah, putting in a gas line for a gas stove is going to be more work than they thought. They basically agreed to freebie me the gas line in exchange for me going ahead and committing to buy the furnace. That was kind of my little concession. I'm like, because for the furnace, you know, it's like 10 times what the repair would have been. So I'm like, well, I'm inclined to redo the furnace because the one we have is over 30 years old. Wait, it's actually 28, but I mean they're really rated for like 20 years, so it's way past its time. And I'm choosing to look at it as it's going to add value to the home, which is true. You know, if you're going to buy a house and you find out they just replaced the furnace, you know, not that long ago, that's a bit of a selling point for sure. Not that I'm planning to move anytime soon. Okay. Boom. Yeah, I like it. In fact, I think what we could do, so this would be an interesting experiment. Let's save our work and I'll show you an experiment we're going to do. I'm going to actually do this. I'm going to have him slump his shoulders even more. Okay, so we don't want to have the chin going haywire. Okay, so let's see how that feels. Okay, not bad. Now can we box select these keys and then experiment with having the whole schlump thing happen quicker? So we'll chop it out and blend. We'll just let Blender decide which keys to throw away. Not bad, actually. I like that. I like it. I like it. Muy mucho. Okay, and by the way, just so you know, this would be a really prime place to do this little anime thing you see sometimes, where you got, you know, this. I'm just doing that to insert a key in there, and then I guess we'd want to go draw mode. Erase that, erase that, erase that. Make this one long, make these ones short, and then you duplicate these. So you get this kind of thing going on. And probably you'd have it on both sides of his head, actually, not just one. So delete. Whoops. X. Delete the keyframes. So I don't need that in there. I was just wanting to show that I'm thinking that's probably what I'll do. Okay. So let's play this back at let's go up here to I guess it'd be this one. We want to go to, well, we still got to go custom. So let's do 24. And the base, if we were doing 8 frames per second, is that a base of 0.3? Is it a base of 3? I can't remember. I think it's 3. Yeah. So then if we change this to 2, it should play at 12 frames per second. Yeah, see, that'll work. That'll work. So yeah, this is a shot that will work in the show. It's one of those rare cases where running a shot at 12 frames per second does make sense. So we'll do that. File, save. What time is it? 7 o'clock. It is 7 o'clock. And we are making some good headway here, friends. Good headway. Okay, so what does he actually say? He says, well, nothing like that. So the hands come up. So this expression is kind of wrong, but that's all right. Let's just do it this way. Okay. And here, we're going to get the hands going, so I want to look at what I did in the old version of the show. The other thing I did was I had the, whoops, that's not what I meant to do. The other thing I did was I had, he blushes. So we'll have a little flush of red in his cheeks when he feels embarrassed. So I'm just going to draw these shapes. And now I'm going to go into edit mode, Alt-A to select nothing. Grab these little goofy shapes that are supposed to represent his hands. And that actually works. Okay, that works surprisingly well. So let me do that. I'm going to hit G. Okay, I got to be careful here. I don't get too much influence. And probably here we want to, whoops, I did not mean to extrude those. Sorry. E key. Okay, that's not working. Okay, yeah. So then he gets up, his hands are up like this, and then what's gonna happen is I have to keep remembering, I have to keep stopping and going over and looking at the keyboard, because I have to remember to hit Alt A instead of just A. Turn off proportional editing. Alt A again. I'm just doing it this way because it's going to be pretty easy to draw the hands. And then, of course, we're going to have to add lip sync to it. Nothing like that, right? I think we're almost done here, probably, with what I'm going to do tonight. So, okay, so the only thing I'm not really loving about it is this. Right here, D key, let's zoom in here. I want to actually not go with kind of the droopy, sad look here. Boop 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 doop. Yeah, I'm trying to do too much. There's too much right here. So I'm going to actually get rid of this here as well. I'm going to put a little hint of it in there. I'm not being as careful right now because I'm just trying to get the drawing figured out, get the motion and the progression figured out, because the change there in expression was too abrupt, and it's like you're trying to fit too many little expressions into too short of a time, and just starts to look just chattery. You know, it doesn't feel good. That's okay. That's okay. Okay, and then what would actually happen here is right here, he would definitely have a blink. Okay, somebody's buzzing me. Who's buzzing me? I'm gonna check my JP Parks Blender guy. Yeah, well, it's not necessarily my main stable, but doesn't look like there's anything going on my Google Voice, so I wonder if I'm probably getting a buzz because of Discord. Probably somebody posted something on the Discord channel. I really should probably turn those notifications off, but so he says, well, nothing like that. That works. That works. I think my work here is done. I think I did my job tonight. Yeah, Blender is... Come on, I've been using Blender for 20 years. So, Blender kind of let me down this afternoon. This very version that I'm using right now, it actually did some pretty funky things, and I kind of lost some work, but what are you going to do? Okay, so again, the only thing I don't like here, let's go ahead and get rid of these frames. Box. And actually, let's see what it feels like if there is no shake. Yeah, this is actually okay. Now, what if we did this? Okay, that made me laugh, so that worked. Okay, that worked. So the idea is it's this deadpan. Boom. Ah, nothing like that. Okay, that worked. All right, and probably what we'll do is, it'd be worth considering, and you could probably do it with a lattice, like with shape keys, but the idea would maybe be to have his his head kind of doing this. I guess we could try that. We could just stick this in like that. Do Shift D, whoops, G key. Okay, now what if we compress this together? Right, so we go scale, S for scale. We scale the keys closer together. We'll do that and then double it. Let's see how it feels. Well, nothing like that. You know, I'm not totally sure. Not totally sure. I think it might be a little overplayed, but basically, I think we might be okay. I think I'm going to leave it in there for now. What happens if we make it even more frenetic? Hit the B key, go like this, really scale them close together. Okay, that made me chuckle again, so that's always a good sign. So I'm going to go like that. See how this feels. Nothing like that. Okay, and it's too much, so he needs to go right there. Okay, so right here in this segment, we probably need to take out about 4 frames. And, well, let's just try this. Let's take a couple of these and kind of put them in the middle and just see how that feels. No, that's too much. Too much for a good thing. In fact, I'm going to take these out, box select these, and just move these slightly closer. So, and then frankly, actually, what I'm actually feeling here, I just said actually twice, didn't I? That's pretty bad. Box select this, and just playing with it. Nothing like that. Okay, not bad, not bad. So he'd really say, well, nothing like that, and then you'd see the pop when he says that. So it's really like there. And then these two don't need to be in there, I don't think. Dun-dun-dun. Well, nothing like that. Okay, that's a little too early. Da-da-da-da. There you go. It's kind of musical, right? So, when it cuts away from Asher, deadpan, and I don't know if the modifier is actually going to be that useful, but let's find out. Wait, where'd my modifier go? Step 1, factor. I guess we probably need to be in draw mode. Yes. Sorry about that. Didn't realize. Got to be in draw mode to see the modifier. Yeah, you know, we'll play with it. We'll play with the noise modifier once we, can put it on the ink. But honestly, it probably will work. It'll probably be helpful. It'll make the scene pop a bit. But what I think you'd want to do is you would want to animate this. So you mouse over this factor thing, and you hit your I key. I'm sorry, I made a mistake. You need to drop this down to 0 and hit I. So there I just set an animation keyframe. And then here, we're going to crank it up to, I don't know, probably like 15 or something. Okay, but then let's go to the dope sheet. And, well, do the effects, do the modifiers show up here? I don't think they do. So I'm probably going to have to go into the curves editor, but what I can do is go back 2 frames here, knock this down to 0 again, and add an animation keyframe so that now it's going to be deadpan. And then I would say probably here we'll set another key, animate that, and then over the course of this right here, probably tone it down to about 4. Really calm it down a bit. Okay, so yeah, let's run with that. So deadpan, now he's got the frenetic thing going on, and then he's a little shaky, but he's not quite as crazy as it was there. Cool. What do you think? Looks pretty good, huh? Not too bad. And I wouldn't say I understand the Blender workflow best. I wouldn't say that at all. I mean, my ability to just do what I intend to do creatively is better in both Tahoma and Krita, frankly, than in Blender. But I will say, if you make Mel lean to the opposite side, it might sell the effect better. Sifter, where are you talking about? Where should he lean? You're saying this whole section? You talking about when he goes into this whole thing? Are you saying have him lean to the right instead of to the left? I'd be willing to try that. Frankly, it would be easiest to implement that with a lattice. So we go into object mode and we add a lattice and we size, whoops, grab the lattice. We don't want to be in proportional editing mode. We size up the lattice, okay, like this. Size it up, kind of center it on my character. Go in here. Let's change the the V value. Smack that up there. Grab a hold of Mel, add a lattice modifier, boom, and we're going to use the lattice we just created. There. And that way we can grab the lattice, actually add 2 shape keys, grab the second shape key, go into edit mode, lasso select. Well, I guess what we want to do is lasso select probably this. How come it's not selecting it? Maybe I need to use my right mouse. Yeah. Okay. And then what we're going to do, this can be a little bit tricky, come to think of it. Yeah, when he puts his hands up, nothing like that. Okay. So there's more than one way to do this, but basically, actually, you know what would be an even better way to do this? See, in Blender 2.79, this would be almost easier. But you wouldn't be using a lattice, you'd be using, you know what, let's try it. It'll be fun. Let's just try it. Let's just add an armature. Go. Okay, so I'm just going to jump into go, extrude, 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 and then we'll go extrude, extrude. Okay, now this is where it's all going to fall apart probably, because Blender, frankly, 2.79 did this better than Blender 2.8, in my experience. So I'm going to hit P, and what we're going to do is, see, what's missing is we don't have Blender before 2.8 did such a good job of automatically creating vertex groups, and it doesn't really do that anymore. So if I hit armature, so I've got to create vertex groups. So let's do quick and dirty vertex groups, okay? That's fine. So what we do is in the lattice, we go ahead and create, let's create them first. So let's create 3 groups, all right? And we'll call this, I think we can probably, gosh, we can probably do it this way. Let's kind of stretch these out a little bit. I haven't done a ton with armatures, you know, lately, but we'll give it a crack. Okay, so then we really just need the first group, which is going to be the everything above his neck. Okay, so we'll call this group head, and we'll assign assign those. Okay, and now what we can do is, boy, we don't have a select. We used to have the ability to invert the selection. I'm sure we still do, but I just don't know where it is. So we'll just call this bod because we're trying to keep things simple here for experimentation purposes. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and let these overlap a little bit. Okay, that's one of the things you do. We're just doing this to see how all it works, right? Okay, and so let's assign these to bod. Okay, so now we're going to take these guys and we're going to parent that to the armature, Control P, and with envelope weights, man, I don't know. We'll try envelope weights, but I doubt this is going to work. This is probably going to be a disaster. Yeah, it doesn't work at all. I got to get it all mapped up together. This is really kind of a bummer because, like I said, in Blender 2.79 and earlier, mapping, having it figure out the weights automatically and actually figure out the vertex groups was a doddle. And it did it just as well as Anime Studio does. And Anime Studio does a killer job of just getting it right. When you parent bones to like a picture or whatever, or your vector shapes, Anime Studio usually does a really good job of getting it really close. It's not perfect, but it's usually extremely close. But this is basically turning out to be an exercise in you know, kind of a big waste of time. So I'm gonna say let's go into object mode, and I'm gonna skip it for now. So unfortunately what I need to do is hit Alt P, clear the parent, that snaps it back, and then I'll deal with the shape keys later, but for now I'm gonna sign off. I'll work with that a little bit later. No, Max, no. If you set up, that's the beauty of a procedural workflow, is if you set up the rig and then you go in and change the art, it just propagates. So whatever I'm doing, I can add other layers. It's still going to parent to the grease pencil object, so it'll all work perfectly fine. So they added the plugin that allows you to add a box modifier in the draw mode, so you can use the liquefy-like feature in the draw mode. Okay, that would be useful. It's kind of like using vertex keys. I mean, what I'm doing here basically is I'm going to go into edit mode on the lattice. Here's what I was trying to do. All I was trying to do is make a modification like this on the lattice. And I'm really winging it here, but let me see what I can do. So I'm going to actually hit Alt A, grab his head, center it down here, and rotate it like that, and then go over like this, so that when we're animating at any time now, I can do this. I can have him kind of do it like that. So, and then I can go in and massage that shape anytime I want and dial it in better, because right now he's distorting a little too much, but the basic concept is okay, right? So then when he gets into this, when he goes to here, you could have a little shift like that, right? So anyway, with that, I am going to sign off and tell you guys that I appreciate you being here, and you know that there will be